day. It's 2 o'clock. Alright, let's see.
I think
We're going live. Alrighty. We're very not well prepared for this today.
Well, we have the project finished.
We've got this, yeah. We finished this project already. We're gonna go back and re-show how we did some water effects and stuff like that in After Effects today. And if we finish that early, I might just do some backgrounds for Blood. And we will keep it open to questions today too, since we're kind of just tinkering around. Let me open. It's a recap of.
We should recap. Oh, it's Thursday.
Oh,
Wednesday.
Actually, you know what? Let me open up the actual the actual video, to show what we did do. Where is it? Tiny Town. And this is Tiny Town Girl underwater. Final. And this is the loop we made. And Chris animated everything in Flash, and then everything else was done in After Effects and a little Photoshop. And I'm going to show you how we made that water, all the water effects. So what I did do in Photoshop was actually make this little background that I brought into After Effects. I just found a couple of pictures online, cut it all out in Photoshop, and I made some foreground elements and some midground stuff. And the first thing I guess I'm going to start doing is I'm going to make some nulls so I can move all this around. And I could do this with a 3D camera, and I just didn't feel like getting involved with all that stuff. So I'm going to parent a lot of stuff. Actually, I'm not going to parent. I'm going to use some expressions. And then I'm going to duplicate them. So I am going to use an expression, and I'm going to whip this position to be the same to the main null that I've made. And then I'm going to do the same for the scale, and I'm going to make the scales to that. So let's see. Now, if I scale this up, my other null is going to scale up, and it's going to move around. So I'm going to do 2 more of those quick. This one's going to be called Midground. And I'm going to make that a different color.
Hey, Nicholas Neighborhoods.
Hey, how's it going, Nicholas?
He's quite the regular. I like it.
Duplicate this one. Make a background null. I'll make that a different color. And I'm going to make another background null so we can have some variation in the way things move. So I am going to make that one yellow. Now, the cool thing with these expressions I'm going to do is I am going to do a little thing called, we used to do this on Umizoomi. I don't remember how any of it works, but we are going to multiply. We're going to do plus value. Plus value allows me to then move this null still, but it's still parented to the position of this one. So let's see here quick. And I'm going to do plus value for the scale. And then I can scale it back down. And I'm going to do this for the midground. I'm going to leave exactly the same. I don't want that. I want that to be my focal point. The background, I'm going to do the same thing, plus value. If I could spell it right. And plus value. This is my only coding I know. Cody would be proud.
You could probably teach him something.
Plus value. Alright, so. Gonna move these all back towards the middle. And let's see which other one. Midground's in the middle already and foreground's there. And then I'm just gonna take those scales back down a bit to be closer to 100. Alright, so now the cool thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna start multiplying these. So this layer, we're gonna do the movement. We're gonna put these in parentheses.
Happy to be regular. So how much planning do you guys before you start animating anything?
Quite a bit of planning, right? I would say we have to figure out. We got to figure out what, especially with these, we kind of need a little bit of planning.
With the background, something like with this, we knew we wanted to do something underwater.
So we
Sure.
came up
So we
with,
had to come up with a loop for 10 seconds. But I think we kind of had all the animation sort of figured out on what we were going to do within, you know, the day, if not a couple hours.
Oh yeah, no.
You know?
Well, we kind of had to create the background too first, so we had like,
Yeah.
so we knew what we were. All right. So what I'm gonna do with the foreground null, I have all of this. It's expressed.
Oh,
Ooh, we got some fast guys out there. We got this all expressed
quick.
with a plus value. I put all that in parentheses, and I'm gonna multiply that by. I think I did around 3. And I'm gonna do the same with the scale. And to do multiply, do the asterisk button. Is that what that is? I guess. Is that what you call that little star thing? The asterisk above number 9.
I think that's an asterisk, yeah.
So I'm gonna multiply that. So now the cool thing is, if I move my main null, where is the green one? Why is that one not showing up anywhere? Oh, because it moved over again. See, my green null is moving a lot faster now because it's expressed. So if I have the main null and my foreground null now. If I actually just move my main null up with like shift twice, you can start to see the green null's moving faster. And this way I can do some really cool multiplaning with without having to add a 3D camera in and mess up all of our particle systems and stuff. So I'm gonna do the same thing for the background quick. I put that in parentheses. And this I'm gonna multiply by 0.75 because I want it to move slower. So we're gonna go less than a value of 1. Multiply that by 0.75. And then I have one more background layer, and I'm gonna multiply that whole thing by 0.5. Times that by 0.5. Alright, let's see here. I'm gonna move all my nulls back to the center. Let's see here. Alright, so it's a little annoying to set up, but I don't have to make everything 3D and bring the camera in and get that all set up. I can actually just turn these off now. I don't even need to see these anymore. I just need my main null. Now you can see if I've got my Photoshop file broken down into two foreground pieces. So I'm gonna attach them to the foreground null. Then I have a C bottom. I'm gonna attach that to the midground. Then I have a background reef area. That's gonna go to background 1. And I'm gonna attach the background to background 2. So now the cool thing is, if I'm not gonna do any keyframes, I guess I can do a keyframe now quick. Shift over. Now if I move my null, you can see things start to move at a different rate, which it gives us this really cool multiplaning without having to use a camera and move things closer to it. And I also have the same thing happening with the scale. So the foreground stuff is scaling a lot faster than the background stuff. Kind of doing the same thing as a 3D camera, but not bringing in all of that information. Which when I was working on this project had to be the biggest After Effects project I ever worked on. That's why we couldn't really show it live. We'd still be RAM previewing.
Well, the rendering alone.
All right, so I'm going to start with the background and kind of show how we brought in some cool water effects. So I'm going to make a new solid. That's a good size. I'm going to call this the water top. And I had to use a very cool plugin by Red Giant called Tsunami. We use this a lot on, I think we used it on Wonder Pets even a bit, and we used it a lot in Umizoomies. And you can do render options. Let's see. We're going to do just water.
What show's going to use After Effects now, do you think?
I don't
it's like
know.
I don't know. Is that all? That looks like
Yeah, that was all done. I know there's some of the people from that group of people, the Wonder Pets people and stuff that work on that.
Yeah.
I think they hand drew it all in Photoshop and then set up rigs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this,
would you ever
That's
want to
fine.
do like?
I don't know
set
if I
up
could
another
do, no, I don't know if I
show?
could do After Effects animation anymore.
Just because you're
Just
rusty, or just because
That,
you
or
wanna...
it is a tough way of thinking. I remember always having to, like, I got really into the groove of it, but you had to, like, do stuff where you're like, I gotta move the body first, think about that,
Yeah.
and then you move the secondary stuff, like the head and the arms next. So, with this plugin, let me see what I messed with. I messed with the waves and the colors of it. You can change a lot of stuff in Tsunami. You can change which angle, how high the sun is. Let's see that first. So let me see if I can find. I think it was that. What is it called in here? Camera. Oh yeah, you can raise the camera. The elevation, so you can kind of get a different height on the water. Let me zoom in a little. You can see it's a very. Let me put this at half res too. So that you can change the angle of the elevation of the camera. So I got lower because we wanted to see kind of a low angle of the water. We can change the field of view, zoom out a bit. Now air optics, what did we do? Here's the hazy, ocean optics. Okay, watercolor, I changed that to a nice bright aqua blue. Lights, what did we do? Both just air. Just water? Oh, I guess it was both air and water. And let me see if I can find... Ah, Cracky Comics is here.
Oh,
How's it going?
how's it going, Cracky Comics? Thanks for
Let's see
joining.
if I can find the lighting effect. I can change the height of the sun and move it around. Let's see. Where is that? Scattering, hazy, rainbow. Maybe it's in the light effects. Oh, yeah, light, azimuth. Okay, so yeah, you can change how high the sun is and like the angle of it. So that once you move that, it starts to brighten up the water. And that's about what we did. And I made a 10-second loop of that. But what I ended up doing, and I'll bring it in here too, is I ended up, once I got that the way I wanted it finally, I made a QuickTime of it just to save on space, and I brought that in. So this is the water top. We'll bring this in, and you can see we've got this water. Now I just want to flip it upside down. Which way does that? Like that.
I'm gonna type in for us to Cracky Comics.
Yeah. And this is our top water, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna mask that out with a circle. Do something around there and feather that out nicely. And now you can see how we got that top. the top version of the water. So now it looks like we're underwater and we see the top of the water.
It's crazy.
So we did something like that. I'm gonna put a blur on that now, because you wouldn't quite see that. Just do the Gaussian blur. Do something like 25. Let's see here. And the feather on
Really
that
wild.
is, I'm gonna do like 200. All right, and that's pretty much how we got the top of the water. Next, I'm going to take that. We're gonna do a I had an effect. I believe I used. It's another Red Giant. I believe it's called Red Giant Trap Code and Shine. Oh, you know what? I can see what that's doing. Alright, so let me take Shine off for a second. I need to make the water top a comp. So I have space. Let's make
Oh,
this a comp.
Casey's here.
Alright.
Another regular. Love it.
So I'm gonna pre-composite the
awesome, you're
water.
right.
And we're gonna call this water top. We're gonna move all attributes 2 in there. I'm gonna take that mask off here. I'm gonna put that mask there. Alright, so now I'm gonna put Shine on. Now the problem, oh, you know what? Let me put that mask back in. That's the problem. There we go. So now my Shine should be able to, if I put this up here, we get like a down.
Where'd you get the effects again? It's the Red Giant.
This is all Red Giant. Yeah, we get a lot of our stuff from
And that
Red
was
Giant.
we paid for
This one is a one-time payment. I think the whole trap code thing was a one-time payment where we
But
used
how,
a lot
I mean,
of.
it's paid for itself.
Oh, within the
and-
first job probably it
Yeah.
did. Let's boost the light.
They seem to be kind of the top echelon.
I mean, and these are things we used for. I mean, I've been using these for 15 years now. Most of these. All right, so colorize. We're gonna do. Let's try a color. Let's see if they have a deep sea. They had one. That's a little dark green. We'll go with that, and then pull it more blue.
We have a call at 4 o'clock, so we're
Okay.
gonna have a hard out.
Do a one color. I'm gonna do a nice bright.
And by the way, you're
shine.
not gonna like the call.
Oh man. So that's how we get that shine going on there. And it's just a cool effect. Now I already have that shine going on the top there. And just like that, we've got the top of our background there already, all set in stone. So now that's like that in there. Now the other things that we'll start doing. Get rid of this background layer too. We don't need that. Now we need to start making some of these things blurred out too. We'll just do. Actually, we'll do that later. What I'm gonna go do right now is a cool little effect on the foreground. Now we need, I guess stuff you see underwater always has like this. I guess it's called like a caustic kind of thing going to it. And I'll show you the one I made, and I'll show you how I made that. We've got this underwater effect.
Lawrence here and Casey. Oh boy, we missed them.
Missed the whole.
Check them out.
Hey.
No, I agree with you. Well, a lot, Casey. I think that defines any art style. I think.
Yeah.
Is sort of knowing, there's an artistic eye to this for sure.
So I made this cool underwater effect, and I'm going to show you how I made that. We use this a lot on any underwater episode of Umis. And what I ended up doing with that is I make a solid. I'm going to call this underwater effect. And I'm going to give it what did I use? I used noise. This is actually something you can use. All of this is plugins that come with After Effects. So I'm gonna add fractal noise, and I'm gonna make the contrast a bit brighter on that. We can change the brightness on that, and you can transform. Where's the scale? I know you can change the scale of it too. Subsettings. What do we got here? Oh, scale. Make it a little bigger like that. Now, this noise doesn't do anything unless you put keyframes on the evolution. Or I just like to do time times, I do something maybe around 150. And let's see if that animates it. And that I just added expression on the evolution. You could set keyframes to do that too. So you get this weird kind of noise moving around. And then what I'm going to do to that is I'm going to put an effect from blur, and it's CC vector blur. CC vector blur gives everything this really strange, swirly, kind of web-like, almost like cells. And I'm going to do the map softness. I'm going to do something like that. And it kind of starts to give it that underwater effect. And now, if we don't like, if there's too much white or that's too small, what I'm going to end up doing is go back into fractal noise, and I'm going to make the scale, where is that scale hiding again? Transform. Scale that up. And it still has the vector blur over top of it. And we can bring the contrast down a little. Bring that brightness down a little. I don't want to know.
Well, you could guess.
And then we get something like that. So again, what I would do is I would make a I'd make a render of just this effect, make a QuickTime out of it, which I already did, and I'm gonna bring that in because that's gonna save on render time. And actually, I'm gonna move this up into the middle here. So we've got this foreground element. I want to put this effect over it, so I'm going to use, let's see here, we're going to do this. We're going to do what we usually do with adding light. We're going to take this layer, duplicate it. We're going to put an effect, generate fill. This is kind of how we always treated the characters in the last couple episodes. We're going to put a dark blue on it. We're going to put a matte simple choker. We're going to cut away from it a bit. We're going to move it down. And I'm going to blur it with a Gaussian blur. And we've got this shadow now, so I'm going to put that on multiply. I'm going to drop that down to about 75% will do. Now, next we have this water effect. I'm going to alpha that to be the same shape. Actually, I'm going to alpha invert that. No, let's see here. We need it like this. I'm going to put that on overlay. And let's see. And now we've got this underwater effect going on top of our foreground layer. And you can kind of see the water ripples happening, and we got that lighting effect pretty quickly. I'm going to drop this down a little more. Maybe we'll do 55 with that shadow. Okay. We might even do what we do. Let's do this layer again. Alpha inverted. And this one we're going to put to add. And we're going to move this down. Effect, blur that. And generate fill. And we'll make this like a light blue. And we'll drop that way down to like maybe 25%, so it has more of a highlight to it. And let's see what that looks like. Yeah. So now when we go back out to our main comp, I moved this all over, so I'm gonna move this back down to around here. But now you can see how that foreground has this underwater effect on it. It's got some rippling. So I'm gonna do the same thing quick for, I'm gonna copy this. Do the same thing quick for the other item. And we're gonna do alpha, so now that's still alpha to that. Let's see how that looks. And then has that effect on it. Perfect. Now, go back out here. Move that one down a little bit and over. Now, we're gonna do, back on this thing, we'll put this effect. Alright, so let's drop that down a little bit. Now it doesn't need to be as prominent because it's going to be way in the background, so we'll do that at like 65%. And in fact, I kind of only want it to be, let's do that at like 25%. And I'm going to make another one of these. I'll put that one at 100% for now. But I want to take this background layer. Move it down a hair. Do alpha inverted. Or alpha matte. Or you know what? How did we do this? Alright, I'm duplicating that back layer. So we got this one layer. I'm gonna alpha invert this. Move this one down a hair. Effect blur that. So this is gonna be like our highlight again. So we have this as a highlight. I'm gonna take that layer, pre-composite that, BG highlight. And next, I'm going to take my underwater, and I'm going to alpha that to our highlight. Let's put that on about 75%. And let's see, so now we've got this highlight. I'm going to put this on add too to give it a little more. Alright, so our background has this effect on it now too.
Doing well. Good to hear.
So now everything's got these underwater effects on it. We can now put that on the sea bottom, which I probably would use, let's see, this one. Alright, so we're going to duplicate that layer. And we are going to take this underwater effect. And we're going to alpha that to that. Let's put this on overlay. Let's see the... somewhere around, let's do 25%. I'm going to drop down some of these foreground ones too. Let's put those at around 50. It's a bit dark. Do that around 50. And the sea bottom one is a little flat, so what I want to also do is I'm going to scale. I'm going to put an effect called, I'm going to distort it. I'm going to do corner pin, which is a very cool. So let me turn off the alpha so you can see what I'm doing here. Alright, so I got corner pin on, and I can basically turn something into kind of look almost like three-dimensional, and I can pin these corners down and make the shape match a little more, kind of match the floor pattern a little better, so it's not straight up and down, it looks a little more horizontal. And I'm going to put that back at around 50%. I'm going to alpha that above. And I'm going to move this under. Let's see here. What's the hazy layer? The hazy layer will move up top.
We'll be posting this on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll put this up.
Yeah,
so
we
you
have a
can see the
hard out
whole
at
fronts.
4. We have a phone call we have to take, but we'll post it up. So just leave any questions in the YouTube comments, and we can answer them. Just do that if you need any questions.
Alright, and so that's our underwater effect on the floor, and it has more of a flat look to it because of the corner pin. Now, we can see this is starting to shape up to have all of its effects on it. Do a RAM preview of this quick. And that's got all of the underwater effects going. Alright, so next, what I think we'll start messing around with is I made, we don't even need to see these, so I'm going to hide those. Keep this project a little cleaner. I ended up making bubbles myself with particular, so I'm going to do the same thing. The cool thing with particular is you can make your own objects to emulate, so I'm going to make my own bubble. So I'm going to make a new comp, a new thing, and I believe with particular I was always told to keep it around like 150 pixels to 250 pixels. You don't want it to get too big. I don't know if it can handle something that big anymore. Maybe it can do better than that now, who knows. So I'm going to comp that. I'm going to call that bubble. So, actually I want the comp, and I want the comp to be the same size. So there we go. Alright, so we're gonna make a circle mask on this. I'm gonna change this color to be some kind of bright white. And now I'm just gonna kind of use a bunch of masks to mess around with. Let's see here. Put that in the center. Now, this mask I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to subtract. And now it looks like I have nothing. So what I'm going to do is do a negative expansion on that mask. So now we're starting to get a little bit of a outline there. I'm going to feather that drastically. And now we start to have... Let me put it on black so you can see it better. We have like a faded out bubbles we're starting to make here. I'm going to make this whole thing around 50%. And now I mess with, let's try another. Alright, mask. Mess around with this. We'll put this on an add. Let's see here. We'll make this one a little bigger too. We're going to take that feather down a hair, like 25. And I'm going to feather the outer one a little to about 10. And you can kind of add a little highlight to what you have. I'm going to scale that whole thing down to something like that. Alright. Now I'm gonna add, you know what, we're gonna make a a layer underneath. We're going to make it a darker blue. So let me change the color of that to more of an aqua blue, kind of grayish color. Alright, I'm going to take off the second mask, and we're just going to have a color under there, and we're going to put that around 25%. And then we will have, we'll do one more, do some highlights. We'll just make this quick just to kind of give you an idea of what we were doing. Feather that. And let's put this on add. And you can kind of see we got a little bubble there. So, I'm going to put I'm going to go back out here, and now you can kind of see the bubble we have. Something like that. So now, I'm going to make a new solid. Save this. Make a new solid. We're going to call this bubble particles. I'm going to go to trap code particular. And I'm going to set my emitter somewhere over here for now. And I'm going to turn off my bubble that I made. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go, there's the option in particle, and there's the option for a particle type. Right now it's set to sphere. I'm going to set it to textured polygon. And now I get the, underneath that, there's a place where it says texture. I drop that down, and I'm going to pick my bubble layer that we created. And I'm going to do time sampling. I'm going to do random loop for now. And I'm going to move this over too so we have some bubbles. You can see all of our bubbles down in the corner here. Let me put this on black so we can see it. And right now they're very tiny. So I'm going to go back up to particle. I'm going to make the size much bigger. And I'm going to make them 100% random. So we get a lot of different sizes coming out of the emitter. I'm going to change the size over life is going to, I'll do a preset like that for now. And the life is around 3 seconds. We'll do that for now. Alright, so physics, I'm going to do reverse gravity so they go upwards. Let's see here. Let's do negative 200. And let's only do like 5 particles right now. I'm going to set the physics time factor up a bit. Alright, so now those bubbles are starting to move very quickly. So let's try negative 100. Alright. And then we're going to mess with the air resistance. We'll put that to about 1. Alright, so the problem now is these are not living long enough. So I'm going to make them around 10 seconds. Alright, so that's good. So we're just not getting enough. We're going to put that back to 2. Actually, you know what? We'll leave that at 1. We're going to make the gravity stronger. Let's do negative 250. We'll move this along further so we can see. Alright, that's moving awfully slow. So we got our air resistance, and now I also want to give it a little bit of turbulence so they move side to side. So we got air resistance, we got affect size. I want to affect position a little bit. Do something like 50. Now they've got a nice little wiggle going on. Alright, So, let's see our bubble. There's a stop in there, that's why. Alright. So, I also don't need nearly as many bubbles, so we'll do like 2 bubbles. Alright, now let's see what that looks like. We're going to put that behind the foreground. We're going to put that on... Let's try... I think I did vivid light like that. Alright. And we just got a constant thing of streaming bubbles over there. So I'm going to put that in a comp. Bubble up. Alright, I'm going to make that blue so we know where that is. I'm going to start putting some blurs on stuff. We'll put a Gaussian blur on that. Let's do around 25%. We're going to Gaussian blur the front, since that's going to be out of focus. We'll do like, let's do around 40 on that. Do around 40 on that one. The bubbles, we could probably go a little more. And we could also even put a mask around the bubbles with a feather of around 200. Let's see what that does. So we kind of go slightly off. And we can probably drop the opacity of that to, let's say 75. And there we go. We've got our foreground bubbles and elements there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is make a... We'll start with this here. Let's see. This is our background reef. So I'm going to do an adjustment layer. Call that blur BG. Effect, Gaussian blur. We'll do 25. Around 25 back there. I'm also going to affect the color. Let's mess with the hue and saturation back there. Let's take the saturation down a little bit. And what I ended up doing, cheating, was I even dropped the opacity of that back there to around 75%. We could even go 65. Kind of blew out the background so it looks like it's further in the distance. And we can affect the blur on that a little more, maybe 35. And so just like that, we've kind of got the same background we had before. Got everything we want there. All right, so I'll show you one last thing we did at the very end of everything. Is I ended up using a, let's do a adjustment layer. I'm gonna call this water effects. Now I'm gonna put a effect in distort. I'm gonna use turbulent displace. I use a lot. Now this is pretty extreme. And I ended up liking, I think bulge smoother was something I ended up liking. And I'm going to do the same thing. This has an evolution as well. I'm going to put a time times around 150 again to keep it nice and slow. And we can change the amount. The size we'll do, or let's do 75 and see what we get there. This could be bigger was better, but we can take it down maybe to 25. Let's see how much that affects everything. Now you kind of get this ripple going along everything. And what we could do is, I didn't even do this in the other one, we could double that up put one more in the back. Even over the sea bottom, we could do it. Maybe we'll do the amount a little more on this one to 35. And we'll fade that one out around. Put a feather on that one of about 150.
You have a speedy workflow. Do you edit the hotkeys at all, or just use the default?
I just use the default hotkeys. Just living a life in After Effects. A lifetime of After Effects.
And they never change those around, even with the updates. It's always been.
No, the After Effects they haven't. I feel like they haven't messed with too much. It's been everything else. They've just kind of piddled with. All right, so kind of got that water effect going on the back there too. And that's pretty much how we did the underwater. Could even bring them in quick and show you what they would look like.
And it's crazy that you just started with a photo 45 minutes ago, and you already have something that looks so authentic.
Well, yeah, it was a lot more trial and error when.
It's easy to redo.
When, yeah, it's a lot easier to repeat. All right, so we'll bring in the characters quick. Let me make a new folder. And again, I really broke down the characters into, they each had their own PNG sequence. So we could mess with each one. Let's see, After Effects, underwater PNGs. Let's bring in JoJo. Let's bring in Dot. And let's bring in the fish. So I can just pull them in. I'm gonna bring them around. They're gonna go above the sea bottom there. Got Dot is on top, and I believe we put the fish underneath. So let's see here. They put this at half res. Let's see what we can get away with a RAM preview quick.
It's before today asked me to make an animated realistic. I don't know where to see this. It's not possible. We were never asked ourselves, so it might not show. It might not come up in anyone's life.
All right, so we've got these
He's
characters.
scary. He's landlocked. Nicholas wants to be in the. He doesn't want to
Ahoy,
be on an
matey.
island.
We live on an island. I was debating whether I would like to try to get underwater footage. I think the I was like, I think my phone's waterproof, but I'm not gonna
Yeah,
test it out.
That's a dangerous game. That's a dangerous gamble. Not a lot of reward with the clarity of the water around us.
Could try a pool. All right, so I'm gonna make JoJo's comp. Make her pink. She'll be purple. Make that a comp. Lavender and the fish. Make a comp. Make that orange. All right. So we've got these guys. I'm also going to re-bring them right back in again and put those all underneath. And now those three, I'm going to put my Real Shadows effect on.
He's not a fan of the water.
Oh, he has a phobia.
We'll have to do one on the desert for Nicholas.
Next week's sand.
We'll pop up out in the sand.
We could do a lot of particle sand stuff.
I'm trying to think of something we could do with her somewhere else.
What was I doing? I was
wanna
gonna do
it like in a garden or something.
we kind of had the one that was like
Yeah,
a
we
garden
did
thing.
do that one already, I guess.
What was I doing? Image Lounge. Lost my train of thought. Image Lounge, Real Shadows, which they don't make anymore.
There you go.
Shadow only, clipping avoided. And I'm gonna put, let's see, let's start with JoJo. We want the shadow to be down on the bottom. Make it a dark grayed out blue since we're underwater. Gonna make it soft. We're gonna make it like 100. Let's see, nice and soft. Let's do 75. We'll fade it out. And I'm gonna take that same effect. And I'm gonna make these all a linear burn. Give it a nice effect on the. So these shadows, I'm gonna move down. Turn off the foreground stuff so I can see what I'm working with. Let's do the same thing. Let's copy that, paste it on these two. So now you can kind of see how we have that little underwater shadow on the ground. Now, I made a comp of everybody, so let's go in there. And let's duplicate JoJo twice. Make that like that. This way, I'm just kind of showing, I'm going to make a highlight for her, so I'm just kind of showing you. I've got alpha inversed. I moved the top one down a little. I'm going to blur that. Gaussian blur. Out a lot like that. So now this is going to be my mask. I'm going to composite that. Control Shift C. I'm going to make that JoJo highlight. Mask. Now I'm going to bring in, where do we have the foreground? I'm going to bring in this underwater effect that we have. And now I've got this little highlight with the water effect, and I'm going to put that on add, so it's really bright on her. And she's got this underwater thing on her. Now something that me and Chris don't...
That's not a bad idea.
What is it?
She just does keep turning into vehicles.
Oh, that was, yeah, the whole point of the robot is to
turn into anything.
Anything.
We're just using her for modality.
So we've got that cool little underwater effect on her. Another thing I'm going to do that I think I did, let me see here. Let's do, I'm going to make a new solid that's like a dark underwater blue. Somewhere around there. Okay. And I am going to feather this. First I'm going to subtract. Feather this around 150. How far does she go down? I want her to... So she goes down around that far. So I'm going to move this mask up. I'm going to really feather this even more. I just want, when she gets a little too deep in the water, she's going to start to get a little bit darker on the bottom half of her. So we're going to do that. So we're going to put that on multiply. And then I'm just going to use her again as an alpha. So we're going to alpha this solid to her. So only that's affected. So you can see how she gets a little bit darker as she gets further down in the water. And let's see, maybe we'll do, let's see what other thing. Linear burn. we'll do multiply for now. We can even drop it down to like 75%. All right. Alright, so one other cool thing that we saw watching some things we were copying, what were we calling Storybots, right? Underwater stuff that we loved.
That's a really
good
well-done
show. They did a really cool underwater, like it was something I didn't really think of until I saw that, is there's kind of a shadow coming off of everything from underneath because the light's coming from up top. So I used the shine again. Where was this? I'm going to use the same shine I used for the top of the water. So that's Red Giant Trap Code Shine. And I'm going to put the light source up top. Like this. And I'm going to make this colorize. It's going to be one color. And that color is just going to be a dark, kind of dark blackish blue. And I'm gonna do the ray length. We don't need too long, so we'll do like 1.5. And so now we've got this kind of cool shadow coming off of her that she would be making. And we can even do, maybe we'll do another, what else did we do? Let's do, this is gonna be another highlight on her. Let's do pink for these. This one's gonna alpha invert. I'm gonna add this one so it's nice and bright.
Yeah, that is neat.
I'm gonna feather, I'm gonna blur that again. And do 25. You don't need this to be too bright. Alright, so she's got that cool underwater shadow. Alright, another cool thing I did, it probably doesn't even come through, but let me go, I'm gonna go into that mask. I think I should do it in here. Let's see here, this is the mask. Okay, I want to do it to the alpha channel. I want to put that same turbulent displace on again. Distort. Turbulent displace. I'm gonna do that same thing with the expression on the on the evolution. So that's time, then asterisk 150. I'm gonna make the size way smaller, maybe like 50. I'm gonna turn this on so you can see what's going on. So it's actually warping that one around quite a bit, but that is now being used to cut away from her highlight. So it's gonna have this really cool warble effect that you would get underwater to give it a little bit more movement to it. Alright, now let's see how she's looking on the background. And we can turn off, maybe we'll turn dot and fish off for now.
Nicholas is super scared of the water. It's a testament to how cool you're doing it, though.
I guess we're doing it well if he doesn't like it.
He hasn't shuddered away in fear.
And there you see her highlights and on top of her, and I think it's working pretty cool there. And that's kind of how we went about this whole thing. And then there was just a lot more particles, really, I put around her to give the whole bubble effect. We can even make one quick. Let's see here. We'll just deal with her for now to show you everything. So let me make a new null, or a new solid. We're going to call this splash. Okay, effect, trap code, particular. Now this one I'm actually going to do a sphere. As the emitter type is a sphere. The particle type, I'm going to keep a sphere. I'm going to do the physics. What's going on out there? I got some
people upset already.
Got some serious.
They're early to the party. It's not Friday yet.
You can change the size of the sphere. I'm gonna do that. Make the emitter much larger. Air resistance, we're gonna go back because we're underwater, so we kind of want that same air resistance again. We want the turbulence to kind of affect the position again. It's around 50. Alright, so the same thing with the size on those. We're going to go size random. We want them nice and small, though, because these are going to be little bubbles. We're going to do size over life. We're going to do same thing again. Alright, we might even turn the physics factor up to like 4 or 5. Let's see here. The life to be longer, maybe 5. Want to affect the position a little bit more. Let's do negative 200 for gravity. We're going to affect the position more. Alright, so let me just turn on JoJo. And we want this to follow her. We're going to want this to be a bigger sphere too. We're going to make it nice and big. Wider to follow her. We want way more bubbles. It's going to kind of be right below her. So that is... Let's see here. So we want it to be around... We're going to turn it on to around 500 particles. We're going to turn it off at first. Which I'm going to actually... Alright, now we want to animate the position of this to start with her. So let me make sure those keyframes are on. 1, 2, 3, follow her. And you know what? We're just going to want this to be on the whole time. Let's see here. We'll turn that. And then we're going to go from 500 to 0 quite quickly. And we've got a nice little splash there. Alright, we'll let that go out a little further. And I'm also going to mess with inside physics. You can do a spherical field. You can make the strength. Let's do 50. Position, radius. You can make it bigger too, like that. And feather that. Make that bigger. Kind of make it like a nice little ball around her. Drop that down to like 25% strength. And we'll make that follow her as well. So we're going to animate the position of that. Got these cool little bubbles going. Now what I'm going to do is turn on... What do we got here? We're going to turn on our motion blur. And I'm going to turn the motion blur on inside of particular comp settings. We're just going to set those to on. So now it's got a really cool motion blur going on with the bubbles. Alright. Now let's see what that would look like with everything. there you get that cool splash that we got. Alright. So, one last thing I would do is let's turn on... Where's our main null? We are going to take all of these guys and we're gonna put them to the midground null. And we're gonna do a little animation kind of bobbing up and down, keyframe assistant, easy ease. So we turn back on our foreground and our bubbles. And I want these bubbles attached to the foreground as well. Alright. I want this bubble off. Alright, let's see what a little bobbing underwater will do. Alright, and kind of, that way we can move the camera up and down a little bit, and that's pretty much how we went about making this.
And it is crazy that it just started as a photo.
Yeah. And it's just effects, it's just plugins. It's really nothing too crazy. It's just kind of seeing, like, kind of looking at something that you want to emulate and trying to figure out how they did it. Like that shadow on her is probably a little drastic right now. Let's see here. Let's see, we can maybe go one length. And we could also probably put that, let's see, if we put that on multiply, drop it to about 75. Go back here, we're gonna take her comp and collapse it so everything goes through. Go. And then one thing I think I also put, let's see, we'll do one more adjustment layer. Alright, I did something, where was it, in stylize?
Lauren was asking how do you get the distortion bulge when she first dives in?
Okay, that was, oh, in the original, the one. So what I did for that was, let me do this. Let's do, I'm gonna take just her to show you. All right, so what I did was, I'm gonna do another water effect. I'm gonna do size. All right, so this has, I'll start this one from scratch. We're gonna go to effect, distort. I'm gonna do turbulent displace again. And I'm gonna do size 100. That's, we'll do 85. And we're gonna do amount. We'll do like 75. Let's see, that might be too much. Let's see what happens here. All right, and then we'll animate we're gonna start with amount being 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. We'll get to around 75. And then we'll go another 10 or 15 frames, and we're gonna go back down to 0 again. So we'll take that water effect off, and we'll just have just the one water effect. So we kind of just got it like that. And that's really what I did for that. What I also did was did an effect that I used to use. We used it a lot in Flex Caliber. Distort, just bulge. And it gives you a little circle radius of where you want the bulge to happen. And you can make the radius bigger. So I'm going to start somewhere around 500, 500. I'm going to move the center. Let's see here. We'll animate that coming down with her. So we'll do bulge center. We'll start up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna keep moving that down the whole time like that. So now, I'll turn off the turbulent displace right now. We're also going to animate. We've got the bulge center moving. We're going to animate the size of it. We're going to start. We'll start somewhere around 250, 250. When she hits the water, we're going to go to 1,000 to 1,000. We'll go to 1,000 radius. We might even want that to happen way quicker. And then we'll get to around, I think it was around 1,600 to get the bulge all the way through. Alright, so now we just want to animate the amount that it bulges. So we want the height to be around 0 at first. Then we're going to go, when she hits, we're going to do, let's see here. Bulge height, we'll keep it 0 right about there. Then it's going to go out into a big radius. We're going to go to about 0.8. Go to 8 pretty quickly, and then back down to 0 a little bit over time. Let's see what. And we're going to want that to happen a lot faster. So we're going to do. That, and then we'll turn the turbulent displace back on. Alright, so let's turn and just kind of see how that affects the whole background. And it got that nice little ripple. I was messing with, there's other ways of doing it. There's a displacement map I was messing around with and just got fed up. But this is pretty much how I did it quickly. Let's see here. Can we also change the taper radius? Pretty much how we get that little ripple effect. It could probably use some love, but let's see. Alright, so the effect, I forget what it was. Stylize. What did we use? We used some really cool thing I found. So utilities. I forget what it was. We put like a kind of give it that gumball effect at the end that I feel like they always used. What was it?
Yeah, someone mentioned gumball a few times. And
That is, it had that I don't even remember what the effect was now. I'm gonna have to find.
That's how we work.
You just
Just for
accidentally
the
find
moment.
things. Picture in picture. Where was it? Motion graphics. Glow. It wasn't in Glow. Generator. Distort. Oh, it was chromatic aberration. That's what it was. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it is.
It sounds
But it
fancy.
definitely looked like something they used a lot on Gumball when I saw it happen. I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely something. So it kind of really brings some crazy colors out, which really made it look like it was underwater to me. So I'm gonna drop down the master distortion. Didn't want it to distort too much, so let's do maybe 0.3. Let's see. What it kind of did that I saw was it actually blurred out the edges, which was really cool. It was kind of like an iris that did an outer edge blur. So anything that wasn't in the center got really blurred out and totally looked like it was underwater. Again, this is another Red Giant plugin.
Maybe they'll sponsor us.
I'll sponsor them. I'm ready to sponsor them if
Or
they
we'll
just
sponsor
keep
them.
going. If they could just take over Adobe's program and make it themselves and not have to worry about. Yeah, let's see. That splash. What is it? She says it. Okay, chromatic aberration separates the images into two colored images next to each other, like Spider-Verse. Yeah, like kind of almost like an old television, I would imagine, would
There you
kind of
go.
have like that, like when the RGB split kind of thing. Like you could see the
That makes
sense.
phonetic sense now, at least.
Although that was one of the things with Spider-Verse that kind of it started to get me.
Distracted a little bit.
Like it was a little too much for my eyes to take in. Like when they did the background blurs with just dots, it was cool and concept, but it was starting to hurt my eyes.
It was a little. That one, I'm happy to see
yeah.
anything stylized in 3D though. When in the world where nothing is.
Yeah, that's Lauren. Are you talking about the? Let me see. She said I also like to use black and white animated comps to distort the image. You can set black to move the pixels a predefined amount, like you did with the caustics, but for the distortion instead of lighting. I was trying to do that with a displacement map too. I haven't done much of that in a long time. That's what I was trying to do with let me see. I was trying to do that with rings kind of going out in different waves, and then I was going to use that to displace the image underneath. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Alright, and that's...
Laura knows her stuff.
Yeah, well, she knows After Effects. I know After Effects via 1998, and that's about it.
Yeah, have they made improvements? Like, you knew it before they did the parenting stuff, right? Like,
My friends I just came in. They were like, they would tell me, oh, you're so lucky, you know parenting. It was like, we had to make things without parenting. I was like, God, how did you do that without parenting?
back in my day.
Back in my
That's
day.
a
They all worked on Little Bill, and it was like, there was no parenting in
Man,
Little
that-
Bill.
Little Bill didn't time out very good. Did it? You can't post that on anywhere, can you?
What's parenting? Parenting is this really horrible idea that me and Chris had where you become a parent. And then nobody
It
listens
slows down
to
your
you.
work exponentially.
Whereas Lauren's got to know parenting, right? Were you with your whip, where you whip the things. Unless Lauren's not joking if she doesn't know parenting. The like everything is. Let me open up. Let me make a new comp.
If like
And for anybody, anyways, just in case.
But like if you're making, say, a character with a body, like you would move the torso and the arm, you would set up the joints almost.
All right, she
so they
doesn't.
would
All right,
follow
so
it.
let's make this. Let me make this a certain size. Let's do 1920 by 1920. All right, so let me make.
They do it in the new Flash now, too.
Yeah. All right, so let's make. Here's a head. We'll call that head. I'll make a new solid. We'll make this a different color. All right, there's the body. Now you can take the head point. Let's move the.
Right, 2D rigging puppeting.
Yeah.
No, that's essentially.
So you're really just gonna parent this to the body.
But they didn't have this one.
Not.
I
They did
first
when not.
started.
Yeah, when we first started in school,
I
they
remember
didn't
in
have it.
school, I was a couple of years before you. I had to do something. I used to.
It
know
had to be
something
inside the
about
comps.
it. It was insane.
Kind of a lot like how we would do it in Flash. Still
Yeah,
really
no,
is all
it
it
really,
was.
it's just like that.
Cause you can, yeah, and you can. So it's just a pick whip, and you can grab what you want to parent to. What we ended up doing a lot of when you start making a rig is, let's do Control Shift Y. A. You start using a lot of nulls. So you'd make a null called head. You'd move the null to where you kind of want to rotate the head around. So you'd parent the head to the null. Then you parent the null. We'll make another null. And we'll call that body. We'll parent the body to that. Well, let me move where I want it first. We would want.
I'm gonna sit down and watch. Yeah, that's.
What does he say?
Or you could just be like my kids and don't listen.
Yeah, that's not real parenting. Real parenting is you scream, eat the goddamn piece of celery, or I'm gonna, or nobody's going anywhere, and then nobody
then no one
listens,
does, and you go
you
there
still
anyway.
you still go to get ice cream anyways. All right, so that's like that.
Then you
And
find the
then-
celery in the couch.
You would parent something like the head to the body. So now if I move this around, I'll change these to different colors. So let's do position and rotation, which we did a lot of. And you could even do, so let's say we'll do like a jump. We'll do some scale too. So we'll do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Scale this down.
Hope for the best. That's my college plan too. For my kids, the scholarship.
Yeah.
Hope for the best.
Let's see here. Why are all these? Let's see.
Trying
Yeah.
to learn without a school. No, I have mixed feelings about art college myself. So. This will help me get a answer for working in production environments and also help me out. Yeah, I was lucky to be around good
people.
peers. I feel like, but I feel like the techniques I could have learned
Could have been a lot
like
better.
could have been, you know, elsewhere.
Alright, and then just like parenting like that, and that's the way you can animate. You could almost animate a whole character with some secondary stuff.
Cool beans, missed it. We're gonna post this on YouTube though, so you can see the whole process. This is free. No, we're glad to pass along anything we learn.
No one else listens to us, so.
No, we'll take a handful of people.
Alright, so I guess we can I mean, if anybody has any questions that we want to try to do anything, otherwise I think we kind of went over the whole thing of how we went about making the underwater. I keep telling Casey Snipes, I keep telling myself I'm going to go back and watch these videos, but then I never find the time, but they are really informative. I love these things.
Oh yeah, just it's on YouTube, so anytime you need to fast forward anything. If you could you change the watercolor like instantly now, or is that like if you wanted to make it look
not
like
the best way I could, because it would affect her too, but I could.
okay, but if you wanted to make
Like if I went over everything, let's say.
like you could make it look like night, or it could be like
You could just
red,
do
or
color correction. Let's just see if we change. You could just change the whole hue of everything.
but it would change her too, which might not.
No, yeah, it would change everything, but you know, you could make it.
Oh,
We're on Mars.
yeah. She's in a gaseous. Oh, look at that. She's orange. That's awesome. It is like Mars now.
You could take that effect and put it on each layer and not affect
And then not affect her.
Yeah, which would be it's Kool-Aid.
Yes.
Are we? Yeah, Nicholas, we'll be doing our regular blood.
Yeah, we'll
stream
be
tomorrow.
there tomorrow working on more Corey sprays.
And just like that, you can mess up a whole project quickly.
See that?
So, all right, I guess we'll end that one there. I'll put this one on YouTube. You can scroll through slow. That's how I used to
That's how
learn coding
how you
stuff.
Learned. That's how to code.
Or whatever. Whatever I was trying to learn.
Ooh,
Tough guys.
Fast and Furious.
Do a RAM preview. Yeah, that's pretty close to what we made.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll put that
That's
up
why
one more
none of our
time.
projects look alike. We just overwrite
Yeah.
the stuff down.
But could never make that into a show by. We couldn't pass along how we did it.
A lot of it's just winging it. Like pretending that's what we meant to do. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, Nicholas, you'll be here. He's got some questions ready for tomorrow.
Lay it
Sure.
on us. When we started, yeah, we'll be doing some more traditional animation.
We're gonna do more Corey stuff. Is that?
I think so, because that's sort of where we have to get done for the level.
All right, and with that, guys, we'll end that here, and we'll hopefully see you guys tomorrow
Yes,
at 2
tomorrow,
p.m.
Same time.
Same time.
Same channel. Different topic.
Actual blood stuff, finally. Hey, thanks for joining, Lauren. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Yeah,
And,
no, I'm glad you guys are interested in this.
We will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.